المكتب التعاوني للدعوة والإرشاد وتوعية الجاليات بأبها.
ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن.
Bismillah. So I'm going to talk to you about communication. Okay? Communication. When we have Allah Azza wa Jal, He told us very clearly in the Quran, ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن. So Allah's statement in Surah number 16, Surah An-Nahl, Ayah 125. Call onto the way of your Lord with wisdom and with good speech, with fair preaching. Okay? And argue with them or reason with them in a way which is better. So this is the general command that Allah gives to us in the Quran. Now, my experience with da'wah, my experience in the United States, my experience outside of the United States, is I find that sometimes we as Muslims, we get very enthusiastic, we get very excited when we want to teach somebody Islam. And sometimes that excitement, it gets the better of us, and sometimes we have a very bad communication, that we don't follow this right here. We don't call in a good way. We don't preach in a good way. We don't use a logical way. And sometimes, again, in our rush for the person to become Muslim and our excitement, we end up distancing the person or making them go farther away from Islam. So wisdom is really the key point. So the academic component of this talk today, inshallah, is going to focus on something maybe you haven't studied before, but I think it's very, very important that we understand it. That there's three styles of communication, okay? Think about this as we're discussing it. Think about the people that you interact with in your job, in your home, in your family, okay? How do the different people that you interact with, how do they communicate, okay? So we have three styles. We have aggressive communicators, we have passive communicators, and we have assertive communicators. These are the three main styles. The psychologists, they will also add a fourth category, which is passive-aggressive. I will not talk about that today. So discovering your style is very, very important. You need to understand how you generally communicate, okay? And we're going to find out later that the assertive way of communicating is the best way to communicate, the most effective way of communicating. So you want to, as we're discussing these quickly because of the time, that you want to say, okay, that's me. And if you find yourself in the aggressive category, then we have a problem. We have to find a way to get rid of that. So let's begin with... So this is a very important, so you might be asking yourself right now, why are we talking about this, okay? We're in an Islamic lecture, we're in an Islamic program, why are we talking about psychology or communication styles, okay? This is very, very important because we want to understand how we are communicating and how our message is reaching the other person, because the whole point of da'wah, the whole goal, okay, is to effectively communicate the message. We want to effectively reach the other person. It's not about iqamat al-hujjah, for example, that I just want this person to hear the words. Okay, some people, they have this idea. Okay, my job is to tell you, and it doesn't matter how I tell you. Okay, if I tell you in the worst way possible, a way that makes you hate Islam, it doesn't matter because I told you. This is not what we want. We want to be effective, okay? We have, and this is the importance, when we do any type of deed, we have to have what in our deed? What's the most important aspect of doing any deed? Sincerity, okay? You have to have ikhlas. So what is the purpose of talking to this person? Is the purpose so that I can stand in front of Allah and say, oh Allah, I told the people? Is this the way the Prophet ﷺ, how he approached things? We see the Prophet ﷺ, take this image in your mind, that he had the Jewish neighbor, the young boy, that he was dying. And the Prophet ﷺ, he's on the other side of Medina. And he hears that his neighbor's son is dying, this Jewish boy is dying. And so the Prophet ﷺ, he's running, he's sprinting. The hadith says that his thobe was coming up, that you could see his legs from the effort he's making. He's running so hard, running so fast. Why? Because he wants to do iqamat al-hujjah? No, he doesn't want to just prove a point. Because he cares about that person. He truly cares about that family, about that boy. So he wants to get there. And when he gets there and he tells him, say La ilaha illallah. And the boy looks at his father, and the father says, okay. And he says it, and he dies. He dies as a Muslim, alhamdulillah. The Prophet ﷺ said, what? Alhamdulillah, that Allah saved this boy through me. And that was his sincerity. And that's what we need to have when you're approaching da'wah. One of the most, if I don't teach you anything today, this is the one thing I really want you to learn, is that we have to care. That person you're talking to, we really have to care about that person. As a human being, that I really, truly am invested in you. I'm invested in your success. And so this is why good communication is important, why we need to talk about that. So here's I like to use a lot of comedy because I think if I don't use this, you'll forget or you will get bored with me. So this is doctors, okay, so we're in a hospital, it's very appropriate, I think. So this guy is a surgeon and he's saying, and that is why we lift the patient on 3. 1, 2, 3, lift the patient. So what happened was, somebody lifted on 1, somebody lifted on 2, and the patient fell on the ground. So this is not what we want. We want to be effective. This is why communication is very important. So the aggressive style, okay? So we'll go through this quickly. Again, if you don't understand, if you need me to spend more time, it's okay. Please just tell me. So aggressive communicators, they have these traits. They feel, they even say it, I'm never wrong, okay? I'm always right. They're very close-minded. They don't want to hear anybody else's opinion. They think they know everything. They're very poor listeners. Why do they need to listen? They already know everything, right? So they don't feel the need to listen. And that's why when they're involved in a conversation, they're monopolizing the conversation. That means that they're dominating the conversation. They won't let the other person say anything. Every time the person opens his mouth, they cut him off. So they don't listen. If the person is talking, he finally gets some words, they won't even hear what he's saying because they're planning the response already. They're already planning what they're going to say. They often interrupt, they monopolize, as we said. They're domineering, they're bullying, they're bullies in the conversation. They're very aggressive. Condescending, meaning they look down upon people, sarcastic, putting other people down, bossy, know-it-all, doesn't show appreciation, uses this finger shaking. Don't you like this? How does this make you feel if I do this? Makes you feel very bad, right? And it's so surprising. Why? Because you find that if you go online right now, go into YouTube, and you look for Islamic lectures, okay, particularly, unfortunately, in the traditional languages, okay, if you look in Urdu, you look in Arabic, you'll find most of the speakers doing this to the audience, okay? This is the best way to turn off your audience, okay? If you want your audience to hate you and not listen to you, do this, okay? And sadly, this is what our speakers do. Okay? Because they don't think of it, they don't care. We don't need to learn. We don't need to learn academic communication. It's not important, right? Because the point is, I should tell you, right? And that's all that matters. I should just tell you hadith and ayah, and it doesn't matter how I tell you. I already told you, you should listen. That's not the way we want. Again, we want to be sincere, we want to communicate. So this finger shaking and pointing is really bad. Critical, loud, yelling tone, okay? So again, we talk about yelling. Think about the khutbahs that we attend to and things like that. How much yelling goes on, how much anger. My wife, she's a convert, she's from Hungary, and she would always ask me this. She'd say, when I'm watching like a dars or something, like an Arabic lesson, and she'd say, why is he yelling all the time? His face is red, he looks so unhappy. What's he saying? As if she can't understand that he's actually saying something good. So fast speech, they're talking very, very fast. I hope I'm not talking very fast. I don't want to be aggressive. They don't ask why. They don't tell you. If you ask them a question, Ya Shaykh, why do we do this? It's not important why, just do it. Okay? This is aggression. Verbally abusive. They feel like everything is an argument, a competition. I have to win. This is not, we're trying to solve a problem together. We're both invested. No, this is me. I have to beat you. That's the way that they feel. They provoke counter-aggression. They make other people feel sick. They make other people feel angry, feel frustrated. They foster resistance, defiance. The people who they're talking to, sometimes they want to hit them, because they're so aggressive. So they're making a lot of negative feelings in the person that they're talking to. When the person has to agree with them, the person agrees reluctantly. They don't agree by their own choice. They feel like they're forced into agreement. Okay? So again, why are we talking about this? I want you to look at this list. And I'll be happy to send you this list. If you say, I need to look at this more carefully, take my email, I'll send it to you. I'm happy to give you all the information I have, okay? But you have to look at it and say, is this me? Is this how I communicate with my wife, with my children, with my students, with my colleagues, with the people in the masjid, with my, with my family? Is this how I communicate? We don't want to communicate this way. The passive style, okay? Passive style is the other extreme, okay? So Allah Azza wa Jal, He said in the Quran that He made us ummatan wasata, that He made us a middle nation or a middle community. So we are not people of extremes. One of the best lessons I ever heard was one of my teachers. He taught us about how both extremes are bad, okay? Both extremes are bad. So the shaitan doesn't care which extreme you go to. As long as you go to an extreme, you're not following the middle road, which is what the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us to do. So the passive style is the other extreme. So this person doesn't want to make waves. You've probably heard people say that. I don't want to make waves. Okay, whatever, inshallah, that's okay. I'm happy with that. He's not really happy with that. In fact, he hates the idea, but he's afraid to get into a confrontation. He's afraid that he's going to confront the aggressive person and they're going to get into a fight or they're going to get yelled at or something like that. So they don't want to do that. So they say, khalas, leave that as it is. They're very indirect. They're afraid to tell you something directly. They want to beat around the bush or go around the issue. They don't want to go directly at it. They always agree. This is what we call in English a yes man. Okay? So certain people, you see them, yes, 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 everything they say is yes. They never have an opinion. They never have a disagreement. This is the passive style. They're very hesitant. They apologize a lot. I'm sorry. Even their body language is weak and apologetic. They don't look strong. They're not standing and talking to you. They're kind of cowering. They sigh a lot. Sighing would be, okay, I'll do it. This type of thing, right? So clearly he's not happy, okay? But he's not willing to tell you that, okay? So all of his body language, if you're smart, you can see it. You can see he's very reluctant, he's very unhappy, but he's afraid. And he's passive. They ask for permission unnecessarily, so they'll keep asking, is it okay to do this? Do you mind? Would you mind? This type of behavior. Fidgeting, okay? You find them that they're always moving, can't stay in one position. This type of behavior, again, they're uncomfortable. They feel like, I wish my arms would go away. I don't know what to do with them, okay? Should I put them here, in my pocket, on my head? I don't know what to do with these things here, okay? So they're fidgety like that. They nod their head often. Again, this is the yes men. Yes, 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 okay? That's all they want to do. I can't. I'll try. These are their very common phrases that they will use, okay? I can't do that. Oh, okay. I'll try. Okay, so the sighing, the fidgeting, I'll try, I'll make an effort. They will never disagree with you. They often feel that other people have more rights than they do. They're very monotone in the way they talk. They're not animated. So in their speech, you won't find fluctuations that they go from high to low. Their speech is very boring. You can go to sleep if you're listening to them. They agree externally while disagreeing, as we talked about. They spend a lot of energy to avoid conflict. So much of their thought, their processing, is how do I avoid a confrontation? I don't want to have a fight. I don't want to rock the boat. So they're thinking and they're planning not how to solve the problem. Yes, brother. Sisters, can you please keep the volume down? Thank you, sisters. Just the brothers, they can't hear very well. And I don't want to be aggressive and raise my voice. So they often wonder why they won't receive good credit for their work. So nobody will praise them. Nobody will say, MashaAllah, you did a great job, okay? Because again, they're hidden. They're always trying to avoid or run away from everything, so they're never going to be there when credit is due. They build dependency relationships. They don't know where they stand. They lose self-esteem. They promote others. And these people are often not well liked, okay? So again, so that's one extreme, the aggression, and now we have the passive, okay? Two extremes. Now we'll talk about, inshallah, the middle road, which is the assertive style, okay? So the assertive style of communication doesn't mean that you always win. An assertive person does not always win. But an assertive person handles the situation as best as possible. The assertive situation, if you want to get like a very easy definition, they're always looking for something we call the win-win. Okay? How can you win and I win? How can you get what you want and I get what I want? How can everybody be happy? Okay? Because I have my concerns, I have certain things that I value, and I recognize you, that you also have things that you value. So how can we get, both of us can get what we want? So that's a kind of maybe a summary of the assertive style. So I have rights, and so do others. They're effective, active listeners, so they listen very well. So when they're in a conversation, they will stop, and they will let you talk. And you will see them processing what you're saying. They will nod appropriately, they'll shake their head at times, they will comment, they will repeat what you're saying, and they show you, I'm listening to what you're saying, I care about what you're saying. They express honesty, they check on other feelings. So they might say, brother, how does that make you feel? Are you okay with that? So the idea here is again that I'm paying attention to you. Remember, the aggressive person, he's thinking about who? Himself only. He doesn't think about anybody else. He's the only person that matters. The passive person is thinking about who? Everybody else. He's not thinking about himself. So the assertive person, he says, I have rights, I have things that I want, and I recognize that you're a human being too, and you're part of this process, and I want you to share in it. They're non-judgmental, okay? So they won't label things. This is very, very important, okay? Especially when it comes to da'wah, non-judgmental. They trust self and others. They're confident, they're self-aware. They're open, they're flexible, they're versatile, they're willing to compromise. They're willing, again, to look for a solution, okay? They're willing to see, how can I get what I want, and you can get what you want? What are the ways that we can achieve that? How can we mix this up so that everybody's happy? They're proactive, they're decisive, they're often humorous. You know, again, why do we want to have humor? Because we want the other person to feel comfortable. We're concerned about the other person's feelings, about their level of comfort. They're realistic in their expectations, they're fair. They take appropriate action toward getting what he wants without denying the rights of others. Confident, vocal volume, as you said, they're like the opposite of the passive person, that they'll have ups and downs. There's a seat here, brother. They're looking at options, alternatives, as I said, compromises. They're enthusiastic, they're very excited people, alhamdulillah. And so this is the assertive style, okay? So to make it easy, this kind of gives us a visual representation. So again, you have the two extremes. You have aggressive, I step on you. Passive, you step on me. Assertive, both people are protected, okay? Nobody gets hurt, nobody gets stepped on. If we look at this circle diagram, then we see how they merge, okay? So you have the needs of everybody else, and you have your needs. When you combine the two, that they overlap, then you're assertive. The assertiveness is in the middle. Another quick diagram which shows the passive-aggressive. So assertive, I win, you win. So we get the win-win situation. The aggressive person, I win, you lose. The passive person, I lose, you win. Okay? So again, when I know that we're going through a lot of information right now. I'm giving you a lot of information. But I want you, inshallah, like at the end of the day, to sit down and think about this, reflect on it, and say, how am I communicating? Go and speak with your wife. Go and speak to your brother. Go and speak to your friends. And ask them, do you feel that I'm a bit aggressive in the way that I approach situations? Do you feel that I care about your feelings when we're having a conversation? Or do you feel like I'm always trying to monopolize the conversation? I'm dominating, I'm pushing people around. Ask this question, find out where you are. Because based on the answers to this question, you're going to be able to understand how effective you are in da'wah. And I can tell you right now that the people who are on the extremes are very, very poor da'is. Extremely poor. And I've seen this again and again and again and again in community after community, country after country. People who are doing the aggressive thing, that they just want to push it down your throat, push the Quran and Sunnah down your throat, okay? They make people hate Islam. The passive person, he's so apologetic, he's so, yeah, but no, we're not really terrorists. No, you've got the wrong idea. No, this person doesn't make you feel it's respectable. So the person will look at you and say, I don't respect your religion. So one person makes you hate Islam, the other person makes you feel like Islam is not worthy of respect. So what we want is that middle ground. We want that middle ground where the person feels that, hey, this guy that's talking to me or this woman who's talking to me, they're very confident, they have strong answers, and you know what? When they don't know, they don't have a problem saying, I don't know. I'll get back to you on that issue. That's a great question. I haven't heard that question before. I really need to think about that so I can get you an answer. Here's some visual representations. So the picture on the top left, okay, with the guy pointing his finger, what would we say he is? Aggressive. It's obvious, right? And the guy he's talking to is very passive, okay? What about the guy who's sticking his head in the sand? This is a great picture of a passive person, okay? Which picture is the assertive person in this? That guy who's holding his hand out. He's confident, he's looking you in the eye, he's not aggressive, he's not overpowering, but he feels confident and he's looking for your participation. I had to throw this in, I'm sorry, but you know, driving in Saudi Arabia, it always, this was such a perfect representation. But it's true. Some people, mashallah, you see mashallah, the big beard, and they just came out of the masjid, they're making dhikr, and they get into the car, and well, I don't know what happens. Some transformation happens there. So be aware of that, okay? Because people see that somehow. Where I work in my hospital, we have a lot of non-Muslims that work there. And really sometimes I just give up because I'm saying that they see so many bad things on a daily basis. I just don't know how to counteract that, you know? It's so terrible, but think about that, you know what I'm saying? There's actually a story about this in America. There's one imam, he used to drive like that in America as well. He took his behavior from his country to America. And so he said, when I get in the car, I take off the kufi because I don't want people to represent Islam with my driving. So is aggression useful now? Okay, so we talked about what's good, what's bad, okay? Can there be circumstances where aggression is useful? So yes, there is. And again, that's why it's important to recognize these things, to be self-aware, to be conscious of what you're doing, conscious of how you are communicating with others, how you're interacting with others. Because there are certain circumstances where we need that. So where I work, I'm an emergency room doctor. So God forbid, if somebody's bringing in their family member who's not breathing, okay? I don't think they want me to be assertive at that point in time. How does this make you feel, brother? That your family member is not breathing? Like, shut up and save the person, right? So this is where you want aggression. You know, you want to tell the person, get out of the room, I have to do my work right now. And sometimes we have to do that. We tell the family member, I want you out. I will come talk to you. This is not the time for questions and answers. So that's where you have to be very powerful, very aggressive sometimes. So there is a place for it, okay? During emergencies when decisions have to be made quickly. So that's, again, so it's not all bad. Is passivity useful? Again, it also is. When issues are minor, okay? So this is a very, very important slide for the disagreements we have within the community, okay? So when you find arguments that are happening in the masjid, arguments are happening between brothers, sometimes it's not worth it. You know what I'm saying? You find some people, they're arguing over something which is so pathetic, something which is so pointless. So in this case, it's okay. When you find that the issue is not that big, be passive. Yes, brother, khalas, alhamdulillah. Yes, I agree with you. Even though you don't agree with him, okay? That's fine. Let's move on, okay? As they say, there's an English phrase for that where they say, don't sweat the small stuff, okay? Meaning don't argue about everything, okay? There are certain things that if we find resistance, they're just not worth the argument, okay? Or the other phrase that we have in English is pick your battle, okay? Decide what's important that I'm willing to fight for, what I'm willing to really get engaged into a debate about, and things that are not worthy. So when issues are minor, when the problem caused by the conflict is greater than the conflict itself, when emotions are running very high, sometimes you're talking to somebody and that person is demonstrating all the features of an aggressive personality, aggressive communication style. The person's very angry, they're very frustrated, they're red, they're shaking their finger at you, they're raising their voice, okay? That's the point in time where we have to be the bigger person and get out of that situation. And this is where the Prophet ﷺ, he talked about that the strong person is not the one who defeats the other in a wrestling match or in a fight. It's the person who can control his anger. So we're not very good at this type of thing. So when we find that we're involved in a disagreement and the other person is out of control, this is the time when we need to be in control. We need to say, you know, brother, this is not the time to discuss it. Let's leave it, inshallah. Because it's like you're watching a thermometer rise, okay? You're seeing it because you understand this picture now. You're saying, okay, he's pointing his finger, he's raising his voice, his face is getting red, he's starting to get aggressive, in his stance, like fighting stance. So when you're starting to see that, you should be like you're watching a thermometer rise. So you say, okay, the heat it's getting really hot right now, okay? So unfortunately, we don't see that, or maybe we do and we like it, I don't know, but we don't make a change in that. So we keep going, we keep pushing all the buttons and say, how high can we make this go? Can we break the thermometer? And so unfortunately, we break the relationships between each other. When your power is much lower than the other party, and another style might harm, okay? So this can happen sometimes. Again, this is actually very valuable in da'wah. I often tell people who are new Muslims, a new Muslim, you've all dealt with them, mashallah. People who are new Muslims, they're super enthusiastic, right? So they want to go and they want to tell everybody about Islam. So it reminds me of the story of Abi Dharr al-Ghifari, right? Abi Dharr al-Ghifari, the great companion. So what happened when he accepted Islam from the Prophet ﷺ, and he walks out from where the Prophet ﷺ is, and he says at the top of his lungs, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. And what happened? Quraysh came and they started beating the crap out of him. They just jumped on him and started beating him up. And then one of the companions came and they said, don't you know who this is? This is the guy from Ghifar. Ghifar are who? They're the highway robbers. They're the mafia. Okay? You're beating up the mafia right now. This guy is going to take away everything you own the next time you travel to Syria. He's going to rape you from everything you own. Okay? So they left him alone. So what did he do? He stood up again, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. So he's enthusiastic, okay? He's like, I don't care what anybody thinks. I want everybody to know that I'm a Muslim and you should be a Muslim too. So is this dangerous? Yes, it is very dangerous. That's why the Prophet ﷺ told him, go back to Ghifar. Don't hang out with us, okay? The enthusiasm sometimes can be a problem because the new Muslim has very limited knowledge. So he might go talk to his family, and the family knows a lot of things, and then they could introduce a lot of poison into his heart, a lot of doubt. So this is why often I talk with a new Muslim, they say, I want to go talk to my family. I say, are you ready to do that? Can you answer the basic questions? Why don't you cool down a little bit, relax, let's learn, let's study a little bit, let's get you grounded, let's get you established, get your feet firm on the ground, okay? You're a little baby right now, you're still crawling, you can't even walk. Let's get you to the point where you can run, then you can talk to whoever you want. Then you're capable of doing that. So again, a passive communication style would be important in this case. And I have actively encouraged new Muslims that I've talked to, that I've counseled them. I said, you need to be passive with your family. When they open the conversation, you do not continue it with them. You let it die down, or you change the subject, or you say, I'm sorry, I'm not ready to talk right now, or I'm not, I have something else to do, I'm busy. You do not engage them because you're not ready to engage them, okay? Are we doing okay? Everyone's understanding is good? We're good? Okay, so let's look now at the style of the Prophet ﷺ. So now I told you all this stuff, and maybe somebody's thinking, what's this guy talking about? I thought we came to learn Islam. This guy's telling me psychology. So let's look at the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, this is authentic hadith. Abu Hurairah, radiallahu ta'ala anh, he narrates that a Bedouin, he came to the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he said, my wife has given birth to a black child. So obviously he's not black. The father is not black. And so he said, clearly she must have done something, not with me, okay? She's doing something else with somebody else. Because I'm not black and I have a black child now. How is this possible? So he said, I disown this child. He's not my child. I swear he's not my child. So the Prophet ﷺ, he approaches him in a very interesting manner. And so he says, do you own camels? What does camels have to do with babies? And the guy's probably like, what? Didn't you hear what I just said? I have a black child. Why are you asking me about camels? Okay? So he says, yes, yeah, I do have camels. He said, what color are your camels? He said, they're red. He said, do you have any gray ones among those red ones? He said, yes, I do. And so he said, how do you think they turned out gray? If everybody else is red, how did you get gray ones from the red ones? Interesting, right? So he said, Ya Rasulullah, some strain must have drawn it out. عِرْقٌ نَزَعَهُ. So like a strain from DNA, okay? A certain type of DNA that was present that became expressed, okay? In our modern language. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, maybe the same thing happened here with your child. Could it not be the same thing? Okay? You don't disown your camels, do you? Do you see a gray one say, this is not mine, and let it go by itself? No. You say, this is mine. So the same thing with your child. So he did not allow him to disown the child. Okay? So the question is, what style did the Prophet ﷺ use? Huh? No, from the styles we talked about. So passive, aggressive, assertive. Was he passive? He was assertive. He was very assertive. He was assertive. Why? He was confident. Okay. He said, the guy is not dealing with logic. Okay. We have to go around with him. Okay. So he went around. He followed him all the way through, and he was confident about it. Okay. So he didn't say, "Oh, wallahi, I'll have to wait for Jibreel for this one." Okay. That would be passive. Okay. He could have been aggressive as well. How would he have been aggressive?
How to abuse your wife? Divorce.
Yeah, he would have said, "I'm Rasulullah, and this is your child. Get out of here." Okay? Don't ask me any stupid questions. That would have been aggressive style. Or he could have said, "You're right. This is not your child. Divorce your wife and leave me alone." Okay? This is aggressive. Okay? So the passive we have that he'll, I don't know. I'm not really sure. Well, wallahi, you have a good point. So that's passive. But he was assertive. He was confident, and he recognized the situation in his hand, in front of him, and he said, how am I going to reach this guy's mind? How am I going to convince him? So he went around with that, okay? What was the Bedouin style of communication? That's easy. Aggressive. Okay. So the sunnah of communication, this is a very, very important piece of information, okay? Again, because, subhanAllah, sometimes we don't recognize the treasure we have in Islam. We have enormous treasures that oftentimes we don't pay attention to them, and we don't take advantage of them, and we're not grateful for them. So how do we communicate based on what the Prophet ﷺ taught us? So I have a few hadith to share with you. Aisha, she reported that Rasulullah ﷺ, he said, Allah is kind and He loves kindness. And He gives for kindness and gentleness that which He does not give for anything else. So this is a very, very important aspect of your communication. I want you to be assertive, but you have to be kind as well. You have to be gentle. And this is a very, very important part of demonstrating our iman. Because again, we're living in an era, brothers and sisters, right now, sisters especially, who are not listening, but we're living in an era where there is a lot of talk, okay? You can get on YouTube right now and you can put in anything you want. Search for anything and you will find a lot of videos on anything, okay? So there's a lot of talk. There's a lot of people giving lectures. Doesn't matter if they're in Islam, on Christianity, on Buddhism, on Judaism, on atheism, on whatever ism. They're creating new isms every day and they're having lectures on those isms, okay? Whatever subject, there's a lot of talk. The politicians talk, the religious people talk, the sports players talk, the actors and the actresses talk. Everybody's talking, right? And people are sick of the talk, okay? Human beings are sick of all the talk because all of that talk has nothing else with it, has no action with it, okay? So we can talk all we want about how Islam is peace and Islam is gentle, but then you show up with your finger shaking and aggression and you have to believe and you're going to go to hell. Where's the gentleness? Where's the kindness, okay? So remember this approach. It's very, very important that we always have to check ourselves. There was one of my teachers once, I went to pick him up from a hotel. He was going to give us a lecture. And when I saw him, he came out of the hotel room and he stood there in the hallway for a few minutes. And he was silent. And I looked at him and I said, "Did you forget something, Sheikh? We can go back to your room." He said, "No." But he didn't tell me anything. So I wanted to ask him, "What are you doing?" "We have to go. We have a lecture, okay?" "You were standing in the hallway doing nothing." He said, "I'm thinking about my intention, okay? I'm thinking about my intention." So he said, it's important for me to do this before I do the action, during the action, and after the action. I need to think about that. And it's the same thing goes for all of these things. When you're involved in a dawah or situation, it doesn't have to be with a dawah. It could be, again, dawah, we often think it has to be with non-Muslims. It could be just talking to your brother in the masjid. It could be talking to your wife at home. It could be talking with your parents, with your child. We should stop and ask ourselves, how am I communicating right now? Am I being kind? Am I being gentle? Can I do a better job as what I'm doing? So take those moments, just stop and just ask yourself, what am I doing here? Don't get lost. Aisha, she also reported, radiallahu anha, that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, whenever kindness is in something, it beautifies it. And when you take kindness out of that thing, it makes it ugly. So we want kindness in everything we do, in every act that we do. Believe me, people will recognize this, people will notice it. And I've heard it again and again and again from people that I see that they do this, that other people, they comment and they say, you know what, I noticed that this person, he does this and this and this. People are watching you. Sometimes we forget that they're watching you and they're analyzing you. And they want to see, is this guy for real? Is he really sincere? Or is he just like everybody else? You make a big beard, you go to the salah, and then you do all the bad things after that. So we want to see, are we being sincere? Are we implementing what we're talking about here? Or is it just empty speech? Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, radiallahu anhu, he reported that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, should I tell you who is unlawful for the fire? This should, for us, all ears should be open right now. All minds should be open. How can I be a person who the fire is prohibited to touch? The fire would be haram for you. It cannot touch you. How? It is unlawful for everyone who is easy, flexible, modest, and uncomplicated. And this, after what we've just went through, is a perfect description of what type of style? The assertive style, right? If we go back, I will find all of these words for you and everything I presented to you. And I took those things from textbooks. I did not, mix them or change them. I took it straight out of a textbook, okay? This is exactly what we need to be. We need to be able to compromise. We need to be able to be flexible. We need to be able to say, win-win. How can I help you get what you want? I get what I want. How can I be easy on you? How can I respect you, respect your thoughts, your needs, your opinion? All of these things, be uncomplicated. So this is, subhanAllah, it's there. All of that information we just talked about, it's there in our deen. We don't recognize it. Just a couple of quick, beautiful things that I came across. Something, inshallah, maybe that would, we like to look at the Quran, we like to look at the Sunnah, we like to look at the words of our noble scholars. We also like to look and see other things that sometimes there are other gifts out in the world. Kindness is the language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. And again, this is da'wah, okay? Because a lot of times if you were to go, and I've done this before, okay? You go and ask a person after a khutbah, okay? It's a great experiment. You really should try it. As a research for the Institute, you should try it for the Dawah Institute. It's a wonderful project, okay? Go and ask people, just have some brothers standing outside the masjid after the khutbah is over, okay? And let them, as they're coming out, ask individual people, can you tell me what the khutbah was about in detail? We did this in America. People be like, oh, mashallah, it was really good. What was it about? I can't tell you all the details, but it was good. What is that? You have no idea, okay? So this is the thing. So remember, people don't necessarily, they're not going to put all the words together, okay? So you're sitting there and you're telling somebody, you're trying to give da'wah. You're saying the Quran says, and the Prophet ﷺ says, and logic says, and at the end, he doesn't really remember half of that, maybe any of that, okay? But he remembers how you treated him, how you approached him, if you respected him, if you were kind. These are the things that will make him want to sit with you again. I promise you that. You have never really lived until you have done something for someone who can never repay you. Again, kindness, this beautiful act of kindness. Because we live in a world, brothers and sisters, we live in a world where everybody's doing something for a reason. When I came from America. My whole life I lived in America, 36 years. I've been in Saudi Arabia now for 2 years. I came across a very unusual pattern where I work in the hospital, okay? That somebody will come and say, Doctor, can you please help me with something? And I'll say, of course. And he'll recognize that he's asking me for something which is not necessarily within my job description. He's asking me to go the extra mile for whatever reason. Help my mother with this, with that, my father, me, whatever. So I'll say, of course, I'm happy to help you. And I go and I do that thing for him. And at the end, what do they do? Does anybody know? At the end, they give me the card, the business card, and they say, Wallahi, if you ever need something, just call me. I'm ready to do anything for you. And I look at them like, I don't need anything from you. And they're looking at me like, where are you from? because everybody's used to what? They're used to the fact that you're going to help me because you expect something in the future. You're expecting me to do something for you. This is you scratch my back, okay, I'll scratch your back. So that's what they're expecting. They're fully expecting, and that's why they look at me and they're not really sure what to say. They're like, are you joking, or are you from Earth, or where are you from? What do you mean you don't want my card? Don't you know I'm an important person, please? I am big. And so I said, I'm happy that you're big. I'm happy you're important. But I don't need anything from you. I just wanted to help you. You asked me for something. I did it for you. I don't mind. I'm not looking for something in return. And it's shocking. And it's so sad because we're in a Muslim country, and it's shocking in a Muslim country to experience that. You know what I'm saying? So this is what we want to develop. We want to develop this routine where we're just doing things randomly for people for the sake of Allah. We're not expecting anything from that person, a thank you, an appreciation, money, a favor, wasta, none of that stuff. We don't care about that. We're doing it for Allah's sake. And believe me, the da'wah that this results in is extremely powerful. It's very, very powerful. I'm telling you because I'm experiencing it right now in my hospital where I'm dealing with a lot of Muslim people, and they're very shocked by that. And it causes them to kind of be ashamed, because then they realize, wait a second, why do I think like this? Why don't I think like this person? Why am I not thinking like that we should just do things for each other because you're my brother, I'm your brother, and we're supposed to help each other. This is our deen, okay? So I look at you, and I'm so happy right now because I look at a room that's filled with people that I call them, and I feel that they're my brothers and my sisters. And if any one of you needed something from me, I don't care what you can give me or what you can do for me. I just care that I can help you. And this is, again, we look at the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he said, the most beloved human being to Allah is who? The one who is most useful to other people. And the most beloved action to Allah is to make your Muslim brother or sister happy. Okay? So I'm happy. I'm looking for these opportunities. I go to work and I'm ready for an opportunity like this. I'm ready for someone to come and say, I need help. So I said, alhamdulillah, because I'm here for that reason. Because I want Allah to help me on the Day of Judgment and Allah to help me in all of my other affairs in this life. I'm not looking for something from you. Anger and hate dig holes, love and kindness move mountains. Okay, so again, be very careful about what we're doing because people are watching. Responding to aggression. Okay, I'll go over this very quickly. This is very, very important because we deal with this, again, in the da'wah setting, between Muslims and between non-Muslims. What happens when the person you're giving da'wah to becomes aggressive towards you? Okay? This is a very big test. And you have to pass the test or we're going to be in trouble. So, are these the right answers? Okay, I'm going to read them to you, and you guys can tell me at the end of this slide, would you agree? Should we repress our feelings and needs, be submissive to the person? Should we judge and label the person by saying, you know what, you're a jerk, or you're rude, I don't like you? Gossiping and complaining about the person, so we're very passive, so we don't want to say anything to the person in front of them. As soon as they leave, they say, yeah, did you see that guy? What a loser. Okay? So we talk behind their back. Ordering and demanding. Stop! Getting aggressive ourselves, fighting, raising our voices, getting our aggressive stance, our fighting stance. Is that the way we should respond? Blowing up, swearing, hanging up on the person if it's on the phone, running away from the person. You statements, okay? You're being a jerk, you're being this, you're being that. Do you guys think that any of these things are productive? No. None of them are productive. But sadly, all of them are very common, okay? So if you look in the next time you're in your workplace and you're going to see aggression, next time you're in the marketplace and you see aggression, I promise you, you will see one of these responses being done, okay? This is very common, okay? And we're never going to break that cycle until you and me, we start getting away from these things. We start saying, you know what, I'm going to be the guy or I'm going to be the girl that's going to change. And I hope someone will see me and they're going to say, I really like how that person handled that situation. I should do that. And we spread. And this is what we want, the good sunnah to spread. So how do we handle it, okay? Correct response to an aggressor. The most productive way to deal with aggression is to acknowledge the behavior without reciprocating it. To make the person aware that they're being aggressive without being aggressive yourself. So check your attitude about the aggressor. This is very important. When someone is in my face in the hospital and they're red and they're pointing and they're insulting, it's really hard for me to think good about them. But I have to stop and I have to do that. And I remember one time I got very angry. Somebody was very cruel to me, very bad manners to me. And one of the other doctors, he saw me being very unhappy, and he said, Ya akhi, just remember they're sick. They're in the hospital. They're sick. So don't think about it so much. And that really was a very beneficial thing for me. And it made me realize, not only in the hospital, but when people are behaving this way, they are sick. They have a lot of problems, and they don't know how to manage them. They don't know how to deal with them. And so I shouldn't be labeling that person. I shouldn't be critical of that person. I should say, this is my Muslim brother, who is obviously having a horrible time with something. He's going through a terrible catastrophe, and he's not handling it very well. So the last thing I want to do is add to his problems. I want to find a way to relieve his problems. So explain to the aggressor, when you speak to me in that tone of voice, I feel afraid. You can say that. Maybe that'd be more appropriate for a sister than a brother. This draws attention away from the aggressor by placing emphasis on your feelings. Remember, the aggressor is thinking about who? Who is he thinking about? Only himself. He's not thinking about you. So the moment that you say, hey, I exist too, by saying, you know what, I'm feeling not good, you're not making me feel very good, then he starts, oh, you are there. I thought it was just me. Okay? So then all of a sudden it opens the door for him to acknowledge you and then to acknowledge his own behavior. It's possible that the aggressive person simply did not realize that their actions were doing that. And I've seen this oftentimes in the hospital. Many times I'll talk to somebody and they'll look at me like literally with horror in their eyes. Like I tell them, I said, you know what, I'm here to help you, and I don't appreciate the way that you're talking to me. And they look at me like with horror. Why? They're astonished. Why? No, they're astonished that they didn't see themselves that way. They couldn't. They're like, oh my God, I didn't mean that. I'm so sorry. I had no control of myself, and I didn't realize it got that far. Okay. So a lot of times, so many times I've been up to people. I said, you know what, you're not really. I'm sorry. The way that you're talking to me, I'm feeling very disrespected. Shock. Oh my God, please. I'm so sorry. I never intended that. I am so sorry. That's not at all what I meant. I was just very angry, and I let it out in the wrong way. So they immediately what? They immediately focus in on the problem. You don't have to tell them anymore. And they say, I'm sorry. And then they change. They say, okay, I need to change my behavior. It's an amazingly successful technique. And I've had students with me, medical students who are with me, and sometimes there's a guy right in my face. He's screaming, he's yelling, he's insulting, and I do something like this, and suddenly it turns around on him, and he's like, he doesn't know what hit him, and he's like trying to say, okay, because he's waiting for me to do what? Huh? To be aggressive in return. He's waiting for me to like get in his face, to yell at him, to throw him out, to punch him. He's waiting for that. So when you really surprise him and you pull something very unusual out of the bag and you kind of make him recognize, hey, you're not being very nice, okay? Then all of a sudden it shocks them, okay? And so the students will come and tell me, they say, Doctor, how did you do that? How did you resist? Wallahi, if that person had done that to me, I would have, done X, Y, and Z to him, okay? So I thought, this is not what I want. We want to resolve the situation. It's not about my ego. It's not about me. Okay? It's about let's solve the problem. Okay? And this is again the humility of Islam. In many situations, drawing attention to the effect of the aggressive behavior is enough to stop it. As I just told you, making them aware, they stop, and then their eyes get big, and they're completely bewildered, and then they're just apologizing to you. Never allow the situation to escalate. So if you see a person, and there are people out there, many people, typically men, that you know this guy is, you don't know where this is going to go. It may very well end up with him pulling out a knife, pulling out a gun, doing something very dangerous, okay? This is when we need to be passive. This is when we need to de-escalate the situation. I'm sorry, I cannot talk to you right now. I apologize that you feel this way. I recognize that you're very unhappy. I will do everything I can to help you feel better, to change the situation. But right now, I don't think we should continue this conversation. So I've been passive, and at the same time, I had a little bit of assertive behavior, and most importantly, I got out of the situation. Okay? So look at some quotes here. These are things that specifically work. When you focus so much on your needs, feelings, and activities, I feel disrespected and frustrated. I need you to want to respect my needs and opinions equally with yours. Try this at home, okay, sisters? When your husband is not being nice to you, try this. It's very effective, okay? How do you feel about people that are aggressive? You can ask somebody, someone's yelling at you, berating you, and you say, excuse me, how do you feel when someone is aggressive towards you? Again, it's a very unusual question because they're not expecting that. And then they're like, well, I feel horrible. And you tell them, yes, I feel the same way, and that's exactly how you're making me feel right now, okay? So it really, again, makes them stop. And believe it, it's very, very effective. I can tell you from lots of experience this works. And so this does happen in da'wah. Lastly, we want to remember the Quran, وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Those who control their rage, control their anger, pardon other people, and Allah loves those who do good. So dealing with aggression requires patience, insight, and understanding. Aggressive behavior should not be counteracted with further aggression in any manner whatsoever. So Allah told us the answer here. And this is very, very hard. Why? There are very specific rewards in the hadith. The Prophet ﷺ told us about rewards for those who control their anger. The one who controls his anger, when he's capable of acting upon it, there is some very nice rewards for that. Extraordinarily special rewards for that, okay? Why? In fact, in one hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, for the one who controls his anger, when he's capable of acting upon it, Allah will call him out in front of the whole creation on the Day of Judgment, and He will reward him. So He will put you in front of everybody else because of controlling your anger. Why? Because this is a very difficult thing to do, okay? As we all feel, when someone's yelling at you, you start to say, why, how dare he? How dare he talk to me? I will show him. I will put him in his place, right? This is what we hear, right? This is the type of phrases we hear commonly in the society. Whatever society, America, Russia, Saudi Arabia, it doesn't matter, okay? How dare you talk to me like that? I will show you. This is not what we want. We're looking for settling the circumstances. If that means that I'm going to allow you to get away with saying something towards me for the sake of Allah, I'll do it. I'll do it because I want that reward from Allah and because I don't want you to get worse. Okay? I don't want you to increase the sin that you're already doing. Okay? So this is, again, very important stuff. I wanted to set this kind of ground. Another ayah from the Quran on the same subject. So part 2, specific strategies, okay? Handling new Muslims. This is a very, very important principle, okay? A lot of our focus, and one of the things that I can say globally, we have a big problem with this as Muslims, okay? We're very, very interested in getting people to say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, and unfortunately after they say it, okay, Jazakallah khair, man, okay. Just go to that, there's like some room for new Muslims, I don't know, just get out of here. Okay, brother, would you like to learn about Islam? Right? So it's all about, we want that person to say it. We don't care. Again, this is not sincere. Okay? Because now you've got a new brother who is bewildered, who's got a lot of problems, who's got a lot of difficulties to face. It's for us, it's very, it's something we never stop to think about. Can you imagine right now that you were to go to your family that you love, your parents that love you, the parents that spent on you, your parents that care about you, and tell them, I'm sorry, but everything that you raised me with, I disagree, and I've taken a completely different path, which is the path that you disagree with? How they would feel about you, how they would disown you, how they would oppose you, how they would fight you, that your friends would not want to be part of you, maybe your wife will want to leave you, your husband will want to leave you. We don't think about this. It is catastrophic sometimes for a new Muslim, okay? The things they're going through their life, they're going through a lot of difficulties, okay? A lot of people, they have no idea how to tell their families. I'm dealing with people right now, new Muslims, who have no idea how to talk to their families. And I've told them, this is where I've given them passive advice. I said, be passive, it's okay. We'll find a way for you to do your salah. We'll find a way to teach you. But right now, you're not ready for this. You're not ready to go and drop this news on them right now. So let's wait. Let's get you stronger. Let's get you more. Let's get your iman to be stronger. And then we can worry about how your family's going to deal with it, okay? But we never think about this. This is a very, very important job. And this is what, wallahi, I think this is where the true reward is. The real reward is not necessarily in them becoming Muslim, but in the process you do after that. And I remember one time that Yusuf Estes, he was talking to me about, he said that they went to Mexico, and he didn't know anything about Islam at the time. He was very limited in his ability to give da'wah. But because he has that sincerity, I'm sure all of you know about Yusuf Estes. He's a very sincere man, mashallah. He really, truly, sincerely loves people. He really wants people not only to become Muslim, but to succeed as Muslims, which is the whole picture. So he went to Mexico. He doesn't speak any Spanish, and he doesn't know that much about Islam. So he found a guy that had become Muslim, and he said, I want to teach you Bismillah. So he sat there and told him Bismillah. So he said, drink, Bismillah. Eat, Bismillah. Pray, Bismillah. This, Bismillah. So the guy got the idea. He figured it out through the sign language. And so he said, subhanAllah, he said, you know what? Now this guy's going to say Bismillah for everything, and every time he says Bismillah, I'm getting credit for that. Look at the reward, mashallah. Did you think about that? You teach someone Surah Al-Fatiha, okay? What kind of ajr you're going to get for that? That's all their prayers because of you. You're going to get all that reward. So the new Muslim, mashallah, is a gold mine, okay, of things that you can teach them, things you're going to get ajr for. And think of, there's one guy that I deal with right now from one of the, we're doing an electronic dawah as well. And this one brother, he became Muslim. And he said, I need your help. I really want you to give me some special time. I said, I'll give you special time. He said, because I really love Islam and I want to give da'wah to everybody. So I started giving him private, like he would call me, I give him my Skype, and he contacts me and so forth. And so every time, like every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I talk to him. His name is Omar. He says, yeah, alhamdulillah, my brother became Muslim. Alhamdulillah, 3 of my friends became Muslim. So give this guy a year. I think half of India is going to become Muslim because of him. And so I'm saying this is why I wanted to stay with him. I said, this person, he's very, very special. So the more I teach him, the more capable he is to give da'wah. And inshallah, I'm able to get some of that reward because he's doing it. So this is very special. But sadly, we don't handle new Muslims very well. So here's a good way. Again, going with our communication style that we talked about. Anas ibn Malik, he said, one day we were sitting in the masjid with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Bedouin comes in, and he goes to the corner, and he pulls up his thobe, and he goes and urinates, okay? It's okay, no, let everybody look. And so the companions, can you imagine? What do you say? So they started screaming. They wanted to get up and beat him up. And so the Prophet ﷺ, again, look at the cool, he's cool, he's assertive, he's confident. He said, no, let him finish. Why? Yeah, he's urinating in the masjid. It's bad what he's doing. Wouldn't less of the bad be good? But what happens? This guy's urinating, okay? You're all going to jump on him. All of you are going to have urine on you. It's going to roll all over the masjid. We have a small problem now. Let's leave it small. Let's not make it huge, okay? Then everyone's going to have to go change their clothes, take a shower. Big mess. Let him finish. And he said, very relaxed. He knew how to handle the situation. Very calm, mashallah, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So he said, let him do it, so let him finish. So then after that, he called him after he finished his business. And he said, you know what? This is the masjid, and we don't do these things in the masjid, okay? So this is a place for salah and dhikr and recitation of Quran, not for urinating. If you want to do that, there's a place for that. There's a special place. Because he recognized, obviously, this guy doesn't understand. He has no idea. He doesn't know anything, okay? And so what's important about this, and look at how he handled it. He said, pour the water over it, khalas, we're finished, we're done. No big deal, okay? Remember? Yassiru wa la ta'assiru. Make things easy, don't make them hard, right? So no big deal. Khalas, you don't know, I taught you, khalas, you know the business now, right? What's important about this is how do you think this Bedouin felt after he told them? He probably felt horrible. Like, oh my God, I just became Muslim. I'm trying to become part of this community. And what possessed me? I went and urinated in their place of prayer. Oh my, they must hate me. Okay? So the Prophet ﷺ said, no big deal, it's okay, Everybody makes mistakes. Unfortunately, this is not how we approach. When I was in college in Florida, there was a very special person who became Muslim. His mother was from Argentina, his father was from Italy. So 2 very strong Catholic countries, and he became Muslim, subhanAllah. I wish I had more time to tell you the story. It's a really bizarre story, but a wonderful human being, mashallah. One of the sweetest, most sincere people I've ever met, mashallah. And he really, when he entered into Islam, mashallah, he entered, with great heart and with great enthusiasm. So one day, he came with us to the masjid to make salah. And he's wearing a t-shirt with a fish on it, okay? So some guy sees him, and wallahi, what is this? Haram! Haram! So what style of communication? That's highly aggressive, right? That's not your normal aggression. That's very highly aggressive. So how do you think he feels? Okay? Do you think he wants to come to the masjid anymore after that? He doesn't. And he's like, maybe he's thinking, what did I get myself into? Maybe I should reconsider this decision, And this happens all the time. All the time. All the time. Okay, that's why I say we really have to spend time, focusing on the Muslims, spending time with them, protecting them from the other people in the community. Okay, it's very, very important. So we have to be gentle with them, the way the Prophet ﷺ taught us. Okay, because you were not born. I don't think anybody. I'm not going to say I think. I'm sure nobody in this room was born with a beard. No sister was born with hijab. Okay, you all went through your stages. You went through your bad boy or bad girl stages at some point in time. I know you did, okay? Maybe you're still in it, okay? I hope you're not. But we've all been there, okay? So why is it okay for you to take your time? Why is it okay for you that Allah guided you at the age of 40 or the age of 50 or the age of 30 and this guy needs to be guided tomorrow? 100%. We don't need that, right? So step by step, the way the Prophet ﷺ was. So we look, and he's our example. No big deal. It's okay. You urinated in the masjid, you're wearing a fish, you did this, you shaved that, you smoked this, you drank that. It's okay. This is wrong. Let's not do it again. No big deal. You don't make the person feel horrible about it. You make the person feel, hey, you know what? We support you. And you know what? Guess what? I made mistakes too. A quick exercise, which I'll leave maybe for the end. I think we've gotten the idea. All right. This is so I wanted to, before we finish, inshallah, in the next 10 minutes, I wanted to give specific strategies, inshallah, in the last few minutes, okay? Things that I've used that I find them very, very effective for very, very critical questions that we will get asked, okay? So this is the specific strategies component. When we talk about, right now, unfortunately, we're going through a very difficult time as Muslims with all of the bad things happening around the world. So critically, most often, whether you're doing electronic dawah, talking to somebody who's in the US or in Brazil or in France, they're going to ask these questions. So I'm going to say, why is Islam so violent? Okay, how do we answer that question? How do we answer the question of why is it? So again, we can be passive. Oh, well, it's not like that. Well, we're really nice people. Just get to know us. We could do that. It's passive. It's not going to be very effective. It's going to come across as weak, as you don't respect yourself. You're lying to me, and I can feel it, okay? So, because you're missing the big picture. There's people killing people everywhere right now. So why is this happening, okay? So this is a very critical question, and this is a very, very important answer, a very important way of dealing with the problem, okay? So a lot of times when people, they talk to me, they say, you know what? They say, Jesus is all about peace. Jesus was kind, he was gentle. You slap my face, I'll let you slap the other. You want to take my shirt, I'll give you my pants. Whatever. I'm not going to fight you in anything. Okay? Right? And this is the representation of Jesus in the New Testament. Okay? This is what they understand. And they say, but Muhammad, he's fighting wars, he's killing Jews in Bani Qurayza, he's doing all these different things. I don't know. Jesus seems like a nicer guy than Muhammad. How do you handle that situation? How would you guys handle it? Anybody have a style that they like? I'll share with you mine, okay? What they're doing, when we break down the argument, they're comparing apples to oranges, if you understand that style, okay? They're not comparing the same thing. So when we look at Jesus, he has how many phases of his life?
One phase.
No, he has two.
One phase or phase?
Phase, not face. Phases, time periods. How many time periods he has?
Before prophecy and after prophecy.
Jesus. There's one that hasn't happened. I'll give you a clue. Which one hasn't happened yet? When he comes back, okay? So he had his period when he was a prophet, okay? When Allah sent him to Bani Israel, and he's going to have a second phase, okay, or second time duration when he comes back, correct? So there's two. So he had half of his life, and he's going to have another part of his life later. Okay? Now this is what we believe as Muslims, correct? We believe that there's these two, okay? And that's the miracle when he says, that Allah said about him in the Quran that he spoke in the cradle and in middle age. There's a lot of middle-aged people in here, and you all speak. It's not a miracle. Why is it a miracle with Jesus? Because between his 30s and his 40s, there's 2,000 or something years. And that's what's the miracle, okay? So he has these two phases of his life, okay? As Muslims, we believe that. Now, the Christians actually believe he has three phases of his life. What's the other phase? No. No, not the dead phase. Before he came to life, because they say he's what? They say he's God, right? So they say He is, so they say the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, so Jesus, the Son and the Father, and the whole mix, and it's a mystery and all that. So when we look in the beginning of the Bible, when we open the Bible, and it says, in the beginning God said, let there be light. Who is really saying that, in their opinion? Jesus is saying that, right? Because Jesus is God. Okay? So that's why we look at it, there's 3 phases to His life. And most Christians are going to follow that and agree with you. So, okay, yeah, He was there. He's the guy that talked to Moses. He's the guy that talked to Abraham and caused the flood and did all those things. And then He came to earth, okay? And He became a human being so He could walk around and talk to us in physical form. And then they killed Him. And then He's going to come back at the end of time, okay? So these are the 3 phases. Are you all with me? Yes. Are it clear? Yes. Okay. So now the problem, now they've opened up a huge can of worms for themselves, okay? Because everything I'm going to read to you right now is Jesus phase 1. So we have 3 phases, so make it easy. So we have phase 1, pre-New Testament, okay, Old Testament stuff. We have phase 2, New Testament. We have phase 3, end of time, okay? So phase 1, Jesus, this is what He's saying. He said to King Saul, to attack the Amalekites, and He said, and utterly destroy all that they have, and do not spare them. God says through the prophet Samuel, but kill both man and woman, infant and nursing child, the baby who's still nursing, kill him too, kill the ox, kill the sheep, kill the camel, kill the donkey, kill everything. Just don't let a living thing exist. And this is the concept of herem, H-E-R-E-M, not the other one. So this is herem, okay? And this is the principle which is found. And in fact, when you look at the Crusades, and you look at even some of the battles between the Protestants and the Catholics, they use this principle. Their priests were saying, we need to invoke herem, okay? Meaning we need to wipe these people from the face of the earth, okay? Nothing left. Even babies. Kill the babies as well, okay? So I understand, killing men in battle, but when you're talking about killing, innocent women, killing babies, killing animals, burning down trees, burning everything to the ground. So who said this again? Jesus phase 1. Jesus phase 1 again. I have wiped out many nations, devastating their fortress walls and towers. Their cities are now deserted. Their streets are in silent ruin. There are no survivors to tell what happened. You can read all that later. Okay, again, He's saying, I did this. I destroyed all these people. They're all gone because of me. Another one, the same one. You Ethiopians will also be slaughtered by my sword. That's a very aggressive speech, okay, right? Says the Lord, Lord Jesus, and the Lord will strike the lands of the north with His fist. Again, aggressive. Another quote, I will sweep away everything in all your land, says the Lord. I will sweep away both people and animals alike. Even the birds in the air and the fish in the sea will die. There's no mercy, okay? This is pretty aggressive, okay? Go up, my warriors, against the land of Merathim and against the people of Pekad. Yes, march against Babylon, the land of rebels, a land that I will judge. Pursue, kill, and completely destroy them as I have commanded you. Another one, in Deuteronomy, when the Lord your God brings you into the land you are about to enter and occupy, He will clear away many nations ahead of you, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, the Jebusites. These 7 nations are all more powerful than you. When the Lord your God hands these nations over to you and you conquer them, you must completely destroy them, make no treaty with them, show them no mercy. Sounds like a pretty peaceful guy to me, right? What do you think? Sounds horrible, right? Makes Hitler look really good. So this is really bad, okay? And so they're conveniently not talking about this, okay? So they want to talk about Banu Qurayza, and they want to talk about this and that and whatever, but they don't want to talk about this, okay? Banu Qurayza, who's the one that handed that judgment down, by the way? Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh, okay? By whose request? By the Jewish people. The Jewish people, the Prophet ﷺ, he went to them, okay? And he said, I will judge you, or I will let you choose who you want to judge you. So they said, Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh, he's our friend. We had a lot of good times with him. We go way back. We want him to judge us. So Sa'ad said, I will judge you by your own law. Okay? Which is this law. This is the law he's talking about. Okay? This is from the Old Testament. This is Jewish law. I will completely wipe you out. Okay? But he did something else, which is he had mercy on them, that he did not kill their women and did not kill their children. And did not take away their things. The men died. Now, what's interesting here, just as a brief aside, the Prophet ﷺ, how did he handle the previous two, Banu Nadir, for example, how did he handle them when it was his decision? When they were traitors to the Prophet ﷺ, how did he handle the two previous Jewish tribes before Banu Qurayza? He exiled them, right. He said, take your things and go. Just leave. Would he have done the same thing to Banu Qurayza if they had said, Allahu A'lam, we don't know, right? We have no idea, but the track record, okay, the record of the Prophet ﷺ was not to kill them. The track record was to tell them, go away. We don't want you here. You're exiled. Okay? So they said, we're not interested in you, Muhammad ﷺ. We want Sa'd ibn Mu'adh. Sa'd said, okay, I'll give it to you. Okay? I'll give you your own law. And this is Jesus phase 1. And so the critics, okay, this is not my speech. This is not a Muslim. This is not a sheikh. This is Christian people. So Sam Harris from BeliefNet, he says, there is no text, no book more barbaric than the Old Testament of the Bible. Books like Deuteronomy, Leviticus, and Exodus. The Quran pales in comparison. The Quran is very light, okay, on aggression when it comes to these things. The Quran is very, very, very small when we talk about these things are heavy. As you've already seen, you all have read the Quran. Alhamdulillah, we have nothing like this in it, alhamdulillah. So he's from BeliefNet. This is a very big website for religion. Another quote, much to my surprise, the Islamic scriptures in the Quran were actually far less bloody and less violent than those in the Bible. Richard Jenkins, University of Pennsylvania, religious historian, okay? So this is their people, they're saying this. We don't need our people to say anything, okay? But the minds can say whatever, the mind is open, and we can see what's the truth, okay? So Jesus phase 1 is violent or peaceful? Highly violent, okay? Jesus phase 2, this is where he's in the Bible, the New Testament. He's going around, you can slap me, you can slap here, take my things. I won't touch you, I won't harm you. I won't even, I'll take the sword and I'll break it. I will not fight you at all, okay? Peaceful or violent? Peaceful, okay, clear. Jesus phase 3, okay? So we all know the Bible talks about Jesus coming back. So the description, if you look in the Bible, the end of the Bible, like Revelations, it says that the sky will open. Jesus is going to ride through on a donkey? No, he's going to ride through on a war horse, okay? He's not coming back for peace. He's not coming to let people slap him. He's coming to do what? He's coming to kill people, okay? And it's very clear on that. He's coming to kill all the people that don't believe in him, and he's going to save his followers. So he's coming with the angels, and the angels aren't coming with roses, and they're not coming with chocolate. They're coming with swords, and they're coming with death. Okay? So Jesus phase 3, violent or peaceful? Violent. Highly violent again. So 2/3 of Jesus, okay, just by the numbers, okay, is violent. But actually it's much more than that, because the Old Testament, this book is, how many thousands of years, Allahu A'lam, okay? So most of his existence is actually very violent. We would say over 90% of his life is very violent, because he only had 33 years that he was not violent. Everything else is violence, okay? The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, how many phases in his life? 2. What are the 2? Before. So this is Mecca phase and Medina phase, right? So Mecca phase, peaceful or violent? Very peaceful. People pour things on him, they hit him with stones, they call him names, make fun of him, they kill his followers. He never raised a hand. Even when the angel came and said, I will destroy Ta'if, he said, no. Maybe there are people who will follow me, or follow Allah, worship Allah in the future. Don't destroy them. Okay? So the second phase of the Prophet ﷺ, he fought wars. He was a statesman. He did these things. So when you put it in perspective, it doesn't look the same anymore, right? Because they want to compare a New Testament Jesus to all of Muhammad ﷺ's life. And you say, no. The Prophet ﷺ is the same way as Jesus. He had a phase where he was peaceful. And then Allah commanded him, like he commanded all the other prophets, that there's a time that the law has to be laid down, and he did so. Okay, so that changes. Another idea. One guy, he called me, and he said, Doctor, I'm having a hard time because I read the Quran, and it's got a lot of violence in it. And this isn't part of Christianity. I'm not used to this. So how do I answer that? I told him, I said, how do you read the Bible? How do people read the Bible? Do they start in the beginning and go to the end? No, they don't. They have selections. They got passages. So when they go to church, the priest or the pastor, he opens up the Bible almost to the same place every week, and he reads specific things almost every week. Or he has a range of things, a selection, which is only maybe about 10% of the Bible, by the way. Okay? So they don't read the Bible cover to cover. We read the Quran how? Cover to cover. Okay? So you're going to get everything. So if you were to let somebody, tell a Christian, I want you to read the Bible cover to cover, and come back and tell me about violence. You're going to come back and say, Islam is peace. Everything. Doesn't matter. Revelations, because Revelation is very violent as well in the New Testament. It has this violence, because remember, that's the phase 3 of Jesus. And it's very violent as well, and very confusing. It'll sound like someone's on drugs and he had a dream, because it's very confusing. Dragons with 3 heads and tails and armor, and you're trying to read it, you're like, how does this work? So this is a way to approach the situation of violence. Does that make sense? Okay. I have one last point, and we'll finish, okay? This is a very, very important principle, okay? And a very, very important academic principle which comes with it, okay? So, of course, Christians will come and tell you, you must accept Jesus Christ. Why?
For Savior.
Why as a Savior?
The original sin.
So, because you have sin, okay? So they say, Jesus, his slaughter when he was killed, his blood washes away your sins. That's the principle that they have. And they take that from the principle of slaughtering a lamb, okay? So the Jewish people, when they had sinned, they would slaughter, okay? And that they had the idea that the blood from the slaughter, okay, will wash away their sins and Allah will accept their repentance. Allah told us in the Quran the truth, which is, it's not the meat, it's not the blood, it's not the smoke, okay? It's your intention, your dedication to Allah, your piety, your iman, your taqwa. That's what Allah cares. He doesn't care about the animal. The animal is useless, okay? It's the principle that you're going to do that and you're sacrificing something important to you. You're preferring Allah over the dunya, okay? So that's the idea here. But they're stuck on the physical idea. They're saying that, no, this blood, it actually washes away the sins. So they're saying Jesus' blood, it washes away the sins. So when you ask them, why does God need a son? Okay? They'll tell you, he needs a son because if he doesn't have a son to kill him, then nobody will go to paradise. Everybody has sin, and everybody will go to hell. You all with that process, right? Everybody understands that? Any questions on it? It's very, very important. That's why if you don't understand, please don't hesitate. It's okay to tell me. So that's the principle that they have. Assalamu alaikum, Matthew. I just saw you now. So, am I right? Am I right in what I'm saying? Okay, am I right? Because you came from that background, so I'm going to use you. The blood of Jesus, it washes away the sins. Without the blood of Jesus, we can't be clean of sin. Exactly. Exactly. Very, very specific in the Bible. So when you ask him, why does God need a son? They say, he needs a son. Okay? So when I deal with this situation, okay, remember right now, as an example, I just want you to, sisters, I know that you're getting anxious and getting antsy. I promise I'll finish in just 2 minutes, inshallah. Okay, I'll finish very, very soon. But if you could just listen to this, it's very, very important. And I want you guys really to understand this, please. So if I was to ask you right, just imagine this. Imagine it for a moment, okay? I know it's not true. Just imagine how it would make you feel. Imagine if I came to you right now and I told you, Islam is wrong, there is no such thing, and I have evidence of that. I'm going to show you evidence right now that you're wrong, you've always been wrong, your family is wrong, everybody that talked to you is wrong, your whole life is wrong. And you need to accept what I'm telling you. How will that make you feel? Confused. What's going to happen? You're going to have something we call psychological trauma. Okay? So this is what happens when somebody is exposed to something that they cannot handle. Okay? So when we look, for example, we look at, in psychiatry, we look, for example, at a child who is abused. Okay? So a small girl who is raped by someone in her family. Okay? This is a trauma that no human being can withstand. Okay? It destroys the psyche of the person. So they have to put up all kinds of walls around their brain in order to continue living. Otherwise, there's no way to live. Okay? They're going to just be, they won't be able to communicate, it's such a huge amount of trauma to the mind. So remember, when you're going and talking to somebody, and you start quoting the Bible, and saying Jesus is not God, Jesus is not the Son of God because the Bible says this, the Bible says this, the Bible says this. What you have to understand is what you're doing is you're physically attacking them. That's how they feel. Their body is under attack. Their mind is under attack. They're going through a huge phase of confusion that they can't handle. So the response to that situation, the response to that attack is to wall you off. Okay? So that's why if we do that, they're going to walk away from you. They're going to say, I'm not listening to you. I don't care. I don't want to talk to you. And they'll just walk away. And they're going to be damaged after that. You've damaged them right now. Okay? So you have to be aware of that. So that's why when this issue specifically, the issue of the divinity of Jesus and who is Jesus, I don't like to touch this from the Bible. We have a lot of good evidences. We can use the Bible. We can quote. I don't like to use it because I know the result. The only person I'll use the Bible for is the person who comes and tells me, I don't believe in the Bible. I know it's wrong. Okay? I was raised with it, but I know it's wrong. Okay? So this person, he's open to listening. So he will be happy if I tell him you're right. Because now I'm agreeing with him, right? I'm supporting him. So I say, you know what? You're absolutely right because the Bible says this, 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 this. So you've been right this whole time. You're the smart one. So he's going to feel happy about that. But the one who believes in it firmly and you start destroying his belief system, you're destroying him. You're destroying the mind of that person, okay? And the mind cannot handle that. So
what would be the alternative?
This is the alternative, okay? Use the Quran. Use the Quran, don't use the Bible, okay? So look at this set of ayat, okay? Surah Maryam, okay? Surah number 19, okay? وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَلَدًا. This is very interesting, okay? Because you will find there's something which is repetitive in this whole slide. Can you guys figure it out? Something which is repeated over and over again. What is repeated? Huh? Yes, Al-Rahman, okay? وَقَالُوا اتَّخَذَ الرَّحْمَنُ وَلَدًا. Al-Rahman. لَقَدْ جِئْتُمْ شَيْئًا إِدًّا تَكَادُ السَّمَاوَاتُ يَتَفَطَّرْنَ مِنْهُ. So this whole thing, Al-Rahman, 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 Al-Rahman. 3-4 times it's found there, okay? 3 or 4 times it's mentioned. But it's not found that way anywhere else in Surah Maryam. So why Allah is referring to himself as Al-Rahman here? And why not Allah? Why not Al-Kareem? Why not Al-Ghaffar?
No need for somebody to be crucified.
Good, alhamdulillah. Because there's a point in this really regarding the crucifixion, okay? So we look at here and we say that they ascribe a son to the most merciful, Al-Rahman. And what reason is there that the most merciful should take a son? What is the reason? So the way I approach this situation is this. I'll take an example. So I'll take this very nice brother who's been looking at me. So I'm going to talk to him. So if I'm going to go talk to him, for example, what's your name, brother?
What?
What's your name?
My name is Ashraf.
Ashraf, nice to meet you, Ashraf. Barakallah. Thank you. Dr. Ashraf, thank you, Dr. So what we have is that I'm going to go talk to him, okay? So for the moment, I'm giving da'wah to him. And I'm going to say to him, Dr. Ashraf, okay, let's say we're having a conversation, and I get very mad at you because I have very bad anger management. I have a bad temper, and I don't control it well. So you say something to me, and I just can't handle it. So I go and I step on your foot, okay? And I walk away because I'm very, very angry, okay? So he's not going to be happy with that, of course. That was the wrong thing to do. So I come back to him 10 minutes later, a day later, a week later, whatever. I say, Doctor, I'm really, really sorry. I was totally out of control. I don't know what overcame me. That was very wrong what I did. I just want you to forgive me for that. I'm very sorry. He's going to tell me, if he's a good Christian, he's going to say what? It's okay. He said, no big deal. Okay, I understand. As long as you feel sorry. Okay? Is he going to tell me, no, I will not forgive you. You have to go and get a sheep and kill it now before I forgive you? No. Is he going to say you have to go and pay me money to forgive you? No. Do you have to go kill your own son for me to forgive you? No. He's just saying, man, it's no big deal. You stepped on my foot. No big deal. Okay? Right? So we're following that. So there's no Bible, there's no tension, everybody's okay, we're all fine. Okay? So then I tell him what? I say, are you better than God, Dr. Ashraf? Are you better than God? Why would I ask him that question?
God forgives.
Huh?
God forgives.
God forgives, he forgave, but God needs what to forgive, as we just went over? He wants to sacrifice, he needs to kill his son. He needs to create a son and then kill him to forgive you. So God cannot do what, apparently? He cannot just forgive you, right? That's the problem with their idea. So when you go through it this way, you've gone outside of the religious mind, you've gone through logic, okay? So when you tell them, why is it then that you say that God has to have a son and kill him when you just showed me that you can forgive me? So either you're better than God because you can forgive with no strings attached, or there's a problem with what you're saying. And I drop it at that point. I sit. I don't go any further. Even if they want to go further, I will not go further. Again, unless there's someone who hates the Bible, hates Christianity, that's fine. But if they're really devoted people, I will just say, I just want you to think about that, and I will just let the conversation stop there, because that's enough for them. That's a very, very big seed you put in their brain right now, and they're going to think about that. And this is what Allah gave us from this ayah. Why does He need a son? Because you and I can forgive each other. People have forgiven you. We've seen many examples in our time where people have forgiven others for killing their children. Someone murders their son and they forgive the person. Right? So how does God require that from us? So that's another phase. So that's another technique, inshallah, for you to use. And I think that's it. So psychological trauma we've talked about. So that's part 3 is for another time, inshallah.